Alrighty. Let's see if we can program anything today. We'll give it a whirl. Just gotta find out where we were. Unfortunately, we're in the middle of some bullshit, but let's see. Was I doing anything in here, in the shader? Yeah, I was. Dude, where are we? What is going on? Uh-huh. There. Good stream start. Good stream start. Good. Where are we? Where are what? Oh. Save and load. Structure info. You know, that should be fine. Add new buffers for partition IDs for all buffer types. Partition data. So this is what we need. We need a buffer of this. I've already done that. Yeah, I think I was going through this a little bit. Let's see. See if we can refamiliarize ourselves a bit. This is the start here. Then here we have the loop detail color. That's not a thing anymore. I mean, no, it is, but it's here. So this detail color doesn't exist. Why is it showing like there's errors everywhere here? Is it because it's blue and then there's error? Right? It's like this. That's error. But it's showing errors everywhere. There's an error here, sure. Here, I guess, maybe. Maybe it all adds up to that whole line. Coffee looking very black today. I accidentally put half of my mug of cream. So that's a lot of cream. So, tile type. Tile data. Detail data. Okay, so here we need RC data dot tile type. Meaning we don't need that variable. I love how it always goes like a million miles away. Can we go down where we were? Okay, here. Oh, I went through most of it already, apparently. Yeah, okay. We already did that. For whatever reason, I have a hard time finding this. Selection text selection. If selection 1, selection start. So we reworked selection 2 a bit. But it's still gonna be like this. Selection. There's still a selection. selection area there. But then what's gonna happen is that it's a bit array, isn't it? Yes. And this generates a bit selection. What is this? Did I write this recently? Are we really using a texture for this? When did I add this? Why doesn't it say a date? Oh my god, I fucking hate everything about Git, dude. Like, literally everything is trash. Hello? Git, I hate Git. Like, Git is genuinely one of the worst systems ever made. Like, it does what it's supposed to, and it does it pretty well. But, like, the entire implementation is so unhuman that you cannot understand it. Like, it doesn't make sense at all. Right-click on the file in Solution Explorer and select Git Blame, or right-click directly inside the code editor, look for a Blame option. That brings up annotation alongside each line in the file. Like, blame. Like, are you stupid? Like, what kind of asshole named something blame? How is blame a function name? Are you stupid? What is your problem? Oh my fucking god. This? No, that shows the whole thing. Okay. Git blame. That really doesn't show anything either. Okay, now what? How do you turn that off? Oh, here's an annotated version. Yeah, that didn't help at all. Alright, I guess we can't see. I just have to assume that I put this in here recently. I'm just surprised I put it in a texture. Like, I'm actually really surprised. Why would I do that? Like, what is this? It's just that I pretty much moved away entirely from using textures and swapped to buffers. So why would I make another texture? Stupid. Because the texture actually eats up way more space than it needs to. So what am I doing here? Like, there are two variants here. There's 128 and there's 255. Also, I'm using different color channels. I genuinely don't remember making this recently. So, we're checking towards the front. If selected tiles is false, -1. If below is false, 2. And here we're setting it as the selection texture. New selection texture. But see, what I'm super like, what are we doing here? Like, this is a selection texture, and it's for selecting tiles, right? So if we have a selection area here, set selection bits, selection area. Set selection bits, right? Here we have a bit array allocation data, position, size. I like, either I'm retarded now or I was drunk when I made this. But I know that I am retarded right now, so... But I also know that I was drunk when I made that, so... so I don't really know what to think here. So here we're setting the selection area min and max, right? And this is fine. Hold on. There's actually very little written about what we're doing here. Okay. But this is okay. Here we are setting a selection area based on the bits, right? Like we're creating a min-max. And this is what we want. And this should be... Oh, there's something wrong here. Here we're doing set max, but here we're checking min. So... yeah, if min is greater than current position, and here if max is less than current position, then we set max to current position. Right. And then we've set the selection text. Create selection texture. And this part is the one where I'm like... really? I can't believe this is what we're doing. I just can't. You see, this is what I don't understand here. I'm creating a texture that is pixel-based. That makes no sense at all. That's completely unneeded. And then I've made a whole system here. We're iterating through Z, Y in reverse. I just don't want to start rewriting it before I understand why I was doing it. Usually, I don't write comments that often, and usually I don't need to. Usually I understand why I'm doing something. But here, I genuinely have no fucking clue what's happening. Checking towards the back. Okay, so we have the current position here. Current position equals start position. So we're iterating through the tiles. And if this tile, it contains a selection, and then if the tile ahead does not contain a selection, and if the tile below does not contain a selection, then we set we then create a pixel position which is x times 24 y plus z times 18 plus 17, and then we add a 128 to the color array for 24 pixels in a horizontal segment only. Oh. What? I I kind of understand. Why did I choose to do it this way, though? Basically, what's happening is that I'm just creating a texture that we can overlay when we're rendering. And that way we can just draw the texture on top of everything when there's a selection, and that's it. But I feel like that's a really bad solution. I get the idea, though. Because this is limited. This is limited. And that's what I don't really like about it. Because if we're writing pixels to a texture, then we're limited to weird sizes, I think. And we're limited to selecting 166-ish, 170 tiles. Which is plenty, by the way. But I don't think it should be that way. Why did I write this? Man, I should not have been programming for a while. Yeah. I feel like I gotta delete this. The way it should work is that it should just be bits. And we should write the bits to a byte array. In fact, it could just be a raw read-write array. It doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to be bytes and bits. But you can only write a certain minimum to the GPU, which I think is a byte, but I'm not sure. Um, and then we should just check neighbors, like whenever we render, and we should still have like this area. Like if you're within this rectangular area or cubical area, then you need to check for selection, and then we should just check the bits. Oh my god. Why did I write this? So that being said, what do I actually need to do here? Because we have the bit array already, right? Bit array allocation data. We have a bit array. So all we need to do is just write the bit array. It's that easy. All we need to do is generate the area, then write the bit array. It's that easy. Jesus Christ, what the fuck am I doing? And where is this? This is editor world data. Is it? Where am I right now? Editor world data. Inside of structs. Which is a class. And so, what I feel like we should do here is say like world controller dot public void update selection. Update tile selection. And this should have a it doesn't need to be a public bool. A bool that says update tile selection. Is that it? And then, in the main controller, whenever we get to late update, I think, world container late update, sun late update, update world data count buffer, write to tile data buffer, update C shader buffers, I think in here. Yeah, this should be, we should use a dirty flag. That's how it should work. And then everything should just be handled in here. And this, I want this to be like this. We take an int in from over here. And then I want this to be a for loop. And the length should be world controller list.count. And then here we pass in I. And we want to do the same thing here. And because then we can ease up on this. Like, we don't need this to be a for loop. Instead, what we can do is we can say, you see here we have update static light area buffer here. So instead, what we should do is we should have this in the world. And then we need all of these. This is much smarter. Feel less stupid today. And then we need another one for update file selection buffer. Right? And then we just run this, and then here we say if world controller list I we already have this here. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Just a little unsure about this one, because here we're sorting entities. But it's shadow buffer. Don't think the shadow buffer is affected by the sort, actually. Because the shadow buffer has nothing to do with a render list, or like the render order. I don't really know why I'm just setting that here. The sorting should be completely separate from anything. The only thing we might need to do there... No, I don't think it really matters at all. This only has to do with the render order, and that's on us. That's C# stuff. That's that's the order in which we're executing the shader. And you know what? Now that I think about it, the way I'm actually rendering the game here is actually very similar to how you work in monogame, where you just call like draw whenever you want, kinda, on an object. Whereas here, if I don't do, like, what I'm doing is I'm using a compute shader to draw the game. And if I don't do that, then there's just a hidden automatic draw step that's just done through Unity. That's a bit harder to control. That's why I prefer using a compute shader for rendering here. I wish we started in monogame, I'll be honest. Okay. Okay, so we can remove these safely now. And that means that we can just take this back. Static light buffer. Oh, I didn't have that written. But what was the idea? The static light area buffer, right? I think what I had decided was that the static buffer for light and shadow are unnecessary. All we need are the area buffers, and then you have like the central object buffer, and then you have the area buffers for each thing. And then those just point to the IDs in the object buffer. And so then we just read from that object whatever it is that we need. So this here, the static and dynamic light buffers, they are unnecessary. They have no references. Yeah, so there. Now here we set everything dirty, right? That's what this is. So now all we need to do is we go through this, and then here we can remove this for loop. That. Simplifies this a little bit. Static shadow area buffer. Remove that. Building buffer. My brain. Okay, so we have that. Then this isn't a thing anymore. All these update room, quads, buffer, object buffer, and that means that everything that sets these, which we're apparently not really setting anywhere, here. Here we're calling main controller update static light area buffer. But what we should say here is world controller dot update static light area buffer equals true. Update dynamic light area buffer equals true. Remove that. Oh, this one's bugged anyway. Update dynamic shadow area buffer. Update room allocation. Update shadow partitioning. I think that's it. I'll have to go here and find references. Nothing. 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 Okay. Actually kind of surprised. And then all of these need to be removed. Right. Thought I had set this everywhere already. Update transparency buffers. I don't know what that is. Let's just leave that. This is so much better than the previous implementation. Yeah. Alright, I'll be right back. We're back. I don't know what this is. Update height map. Tile matrix. It's not used. That's not used. Not really sure. That's not really set anywhere, so I'm not sure. I think that makes sense. Now, I kind of lost the plot what we were doing. Fixing this. And we were looking at the selection writing, which was stupid. Which I made a couple of weeks ago. When I apparently shouldn't have been programming, because it didn't make any sense. I mean, it made some sense, but it wasn't good sense. Doesn't go further back than that. Okay, so oh, HLSL errors to infinity. But yeah, where's the selection? I think it's in the world. Selection, set, tile, select, set, selection, selection. Editor selection texture is map size. Doesn't even make sense. Yeah, no. I don't know what I was doing. Update tile selection. Right, like here we have the bit array allocation data incoming. And here, when we're executing, this is in the action. So this is passed along. So the bit array allocation, like here, the selected tiles, new selection. You see, set selection bits. Right, this is changing. We're changing it here. I see. Right. Yeah, this is right. This makes sense. And then this here shouldn't exist. Update tile selection. So what we need is here in update CS buffer or C shader buffers. Then we need a if world controller list I dot update tile selection buffer. Then we need to write that. So this should be extremely simple. This should just be something like well, honestly, this is maybe not as smart as I thought it was. Because the problem, see, is that it's basically such that if the first world buffer needs to be updated, then all of the buffers need to be updated. Unless, which I think maybe we should do that, unless we have pre-allocated space for it, then it doesn't need to be that way. So if we say that there's like a maximum size that a world can occupy in each buffer, then that's that. But I don't know what that size would be. For the selection, I think that could be fine. Like we could just make the buffer and set the limit right away. Yeah, I think that's what we should be doing. Because otherwise what happens is that if you pack it in such a way that when the buffer entries for the first world ends, the second world begins, that means that if you add anything to the first world, then you have to rewrite all of the others after. Now we should realistically only have 2, so it's not a problem, but it's like, it just shouldn't be that way, right? It just shouldn't be that way. So each world should have like variables for expected sizes that you set at the top. And then that's just set. And then that can be dynamically incremented. But every time it is incremented, that would mean that everything would need to be rewritten. Which could also be okay-ish. Like, not really, but it would work as long as we don't run out of memory. Like if you add 10% or something at the top every time. And then I think this will be quite robust. So this will need to be something like compute selection, compute. There's no buffer for it. A lot of fucking buffers. Oh shit. Compute tile selection buffer. Right? I guess it's size of int. I'm not really sure, but I think int is like the minimum we can put. Oh, what's the last thing there? Maximum allowed length. Light area map size temp. Yeah, no. This should be temp world size. Let's put that up with the temp world size boys. There. Yeah, it only needs to be... Well, it... No, that's wrong. But whatever. Buffer size needs to be the combined world size of all world managers. It would be possible to reduce the amount of buffers quite drastically, but it's a little annoying because then you have to write like the static and the dynamic buffers could be combined, but then you would need to make it be a struct that contains like dynamic and static, and then those are IDs, right? And then you would need to like just treat those values as two separate buffers and just like read it that way, which is a little weird and annoying. But like in a pinch, if we need to reduce the buffer count for like binding reasons, which hopefully I shouldn't need, because with DX12 we should have like infinite bindings, so it shouldn't matter. And I saw Monogame is getting very close. They've been saying that for like 3 years now, but they released the final preview release of the next version, which I think might be the DirectX 12 version, but I'm not sure. That'll be a little bit interesting to see. Now what was I doing again? Right, we set up this buffer manager for tile selection. Compute tile selection. Let's set data. But see, here's the thing, right? Like, since we're doing this, we could just bake the selection into the compute tile instead. But maybe I'd need both, actually. Because there's no difference, right? Like, we need to have compute tile data here. Like, actually, I do think we need both. But I guess that's why I went for the texture solution, but the texture is just so stupid. I don't like that solution at all. Because the thing is, right, we need a way to both store the selection state of the tile and also write a preview variant of the selection. Because and I could write the tile and like overwrite it, I suppose, and then rewrite it when we change. Holy fuck. I wish I had mapped out the contents here. Where's the tile? Right, so we have two ints. This is tile data, this is detailed data. And so then we have X is 8, Y is 8, tile sheet is 8, and tile data is the same, except here it's called a 2. Right, so then that means we have 8 bits available at the end of each, and tile type slice through is baked into current state bits 05 and state to 67. The tile type, that goes up to a value of 8. That occupies 4 bits. Which does mean that we have space for 7 more tile types, I think. If needed. But yeah, that's 4. So then... here we then have tile type, which is 4. Here we have tile state plus slice, which is a total of 8, I think. So we might have 4 bits remaining here. Here it says bitwise stores a boolean to signal that there's a decal in the decal array here. So we might have 3 bits. But I don't need to do this, because all we need is like a check for, because we always have tile sheet 2 now. So all we need to do is have just a null value for tile sheet 2, which is 255. And if tile sheet 2 is 255, then there's no detail and that's it. So this is unnecessary. So what we should do, I think, is in here, we should store a selection boolean. And then the question is, because we could store it for free here, if we just append it to the tile sheet, right? And then we just make like a public byte get tile. How did it know? Return tile sheet and pointer like 26. And seven. As a byte. Public bool get selection state, then if tile sheet and this value is not equal 0, or maybe we should do a push 30. It's 31. Yeah. And 1 does not equal 0. Return true, else return false. I think. Public void set tile sheet int value let's make sure it's a byte. Then we set tile sheet you need to do something like int temp equals $30. It's 20. So we want to clear 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's just write the mask like this then. Wait, how did you do this? What the fuck is this? Did I remove it? No. Yeah, I think I kind of removed it. There, that's how you do it. No, where was I? Oh, we were in the tile. You write it as a B. Don't know if you need the dash. No, but you can have it. Okay. So it would be like this. Right? Okay. That brings us down to 127 tile sheets on one map, which is fine. You're not gonna have that many tile sheets. And we write public void set selection state. And then we flip this around. That. Oh, and here we also need to say tile sheet equals value and 7. That's a byte. And then this here is and 8. We'll just set it this way. 1 pointer 7. Hey, that doesn't need a byte. Okay. Good. What is this? Okay, so now we have ripped out the selection state out of the tile and then changed our minds and put it back in again. Wonderful. This is incorrect. This is 7. Because the tile sheet is just a byte. It's not packed here, so we only need to check the byte, not the entire int. And same thing here. Here, all we need to do is just say tile sheet and 7. And then we make the tile sheet private. And then here we have bake. Then instead we're gonna say get tile sheet. Same thing here. Tile sheet. Get tile sheet. No, that's stupid. Because we just want to write the packed tile sheet, like we don't want to extract it there. So that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter there. But here, temp tile.tile sheet equals tile sheet. Yeah, here we need a set tile sheet. Set tile sheet. If tile sheet equals 0, what is this? This is fill. Is valid. If get tile sheet and here we're selecting current tiles is valid. And then we could make this easier by saying if selected tiles count is greater than 0, then we do this, then we have the tile here. Then all we have to do is if t.get selection state is false, then we'd return false. We don't really even need... well, we do actually need to check for this selected tiles count, because otherwise... I don't know why we're only checking for a 0 here. I don't... I like barely understand where the is valid comes in. It's here. But what's wrong is that it's checking for tile sheet 0. Well, I mean, I guess we can leave it like that. The fill tool isn't super useful, but it can be useful to get started by just filling the ground with something, right? That's really the purpose of it. Because you can't like fill an area otherwise, unless we just make it so if you have a selection you can just fill that or whatever. Because like when you're I would have to replace the entire system, which I will kind of later. Like, not an entire system, but I'm gonna change it from tiles to block types at some point, I think. And at that point, the fill tool could work, because then you can fill replace adjacent tile types or blocks that are the same index. But right now it's just based on tile positions. So it's like, even if I draw a wall, I can't fill replace the wall, because each wall is just an X, a Y, and a tile sheet. Like, it doesn't have an ID. So you can't replace that. There's nothing there that you can read to replace, because they're not connected in any way. But that is for later. First, I want combat function. So that's not important for that. What's important for that's actually what we're doing right now. We're implementing combat. Because that's what the new world system is for. It's just for combat. And it's unfortunately like infinite amounts of work. Got derailed again. What were we doing? Right, I remember. We were going through everything that uses tile sheet. Editor line tool here, for example. Like it's actually quite a lot, unfortunately. Here, OK button. This is save as, and that's just gonna. You know what? I don't think we shouldn't save the selection state. The reality is, man, how should we do this? Because the thing is, the selection is actually a level editor function. And that's why I'm a little bit like, how should we actually handle this? Like, should it be in the tile? But it's also, it's just like some fucking bloody tiny detail. Hate getting stuck on that kind of stuff. Because that would mean if I put it, if we only store selection info in the level editor, then we can just cut it. But it's still annoying because we still need to write it. And maybe that's why I was just writing it as a texture. But I still think the texture solution was absolutely mind-bogglingly stupid. I don't know why I put that in there. But I think it was partially because of that reason. That preferably, I don't think that this selection should exist in the game, because there's never a reason to select an area in the game. That's not how anything works or will work. Like, you might have, like, you might select an area in combat, but that's not really handled through the tile. But it could be, I suppose. But the thing there is that we only have a few tiles, or we only have a few bits to work with. But hold on now. Am I being stupid again? I am. I am. Because I'm trying to bake it into the tile sheet. But the tile sheet doesn't have that kind of space. Look, because the tile sheet is here. Oh wait, it's the tile type. Oh. Okay, then we have to revert this. Anything that uses this. E.get tile sheet. This should... Yeah. Let's revert. Yeah. Let's just use another buffer. And we just do that. In the editor. Let's get rid of this. Please do not write more shit into the tile. And then the level editor. There, no. There. This has editor world data. Which is editor world data list, right? And so the editor world data has selected tiles here. Yeah. So if we go to the main controller and we then pick selection, tile selection, this one, the compute tile selection buffer, right? And we take it, and then we put that in the level editor. And then we have anything that uses a buffer, we keep in the level editor here. Then now we have 5 errors. Actually have 122 errors, but those are in the shader. This was just this was in start. So if we go to level editor, have a fucking start. We just put it here in the creator in the here somewhere. It doesn't matter. Set tile selection buffer size to size of all worlds. Right, and then set that to 0 as well. This is also in start. Here, and this is called on application quit. So then public void on. There's no song command, Jones. But it is Best Police Denki 2 prototype. Which is also known as Lufia 2. See, above my head, that's the song. That's the song there. I don't know if they reuse any music between the games or not. But oh! Holy crap. I don't think on application quit is a thing here. But we do this. You might do the first Lufia first. I mean, makes sense. Who doesn't want to do it in order? I mean, I feel like that too. Usually it's a mistake, though. If level editor is enabled, then we do level editor on application quit. Imagine missing out on Final Fantasy 2. Yeah, exactly. That would be terrible. Oh, shit. Okay. Tie selection buffer to the level editor. Right. I don't mind the noise. Any progress on the masking? Well, a little bit, I suppose, but that's my side project. This is different. Here we're doing way more complicated things. I really cooked with the Chrono Cross battle music, but there really needs to be other battle themes. Yeah. I don't really remember. I guess there's like a boss theme, but yeah. Hold on. I need to call and wake up my boss for the meeting. I don't know if he's up, he might be. Let's see. What's happening here? Holy shit. What is happening here? There's a whole Titus MIDI arrangement of FF songs. When you say Titus MIDI, are you talking about the Titus Fantasy thing? I don't know if that's MIDI, but maybe it is. I've listened through the whole thing. It's pretty good, yeah. Yeah, Titus Fantasy X. It's pretty good. I'm a big fan. All right, let's call him. Oh, he's up. But yeah, so what's going on here? Like infinity things are going on here, but basically I'm trying. I've written a renderer using compute shaders, and it's got like light casting and shadow casting and stuff. It's using ray marching to iterate through a voxel space to then render the tiles that exist in that 3D voxel space. And then we do the light casting, and we cast shadows on like the objects and on the walls and stuff. And so what's happening is that was written in a way that it just like renders the main controller, the main script. But what I need is, I need it to be like modular and be able to render. It basically needs to be able to render any scene. Kind of like, let's say the main world is just a scene, and then on top of that, I need to be able to render another scene like on top of the world, because I need to be able to have a scene that is like a combat scene, but also uses the renderer in the same way so that it can cast light and stuff on the objects. But those objects then need to be isolated inside of its own little rendering boundaries, right? Because otherwise, any object I put in there, if I just try to like put it somewhere within the world, then it'll cast shadows down on the world and it looks stupid. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm taking the way the game worked, and I'm kind of splitting it out into its own class that's called a world controller. So that way we can have like any amount of worlds. Realistically, we need 2, 3 when the level editor is there, potentially. So it's like not that we need like a whole lot, but it lets you do other things, right? It could also let you have like a cutscene world if that's what you want, like just on top of the game, maybe. It just lets you do other things. So what I'm doing now is I'm going through like everything and doing that, making those changes, which is tons of stuff. And then as I'm going through it, I'm also finding old things that need to be changed left and right. And then I change that, and then that cascades into changing something else that needs to be changed because I didn't change that. So it's just been like infinite cascade of things that need to be changed and updated here, unfortunately. And so the end result of this is that we will spawn like a little separate world in front of the current world, or scene. World or scene is just like the same thing. Scene makes more sense, kind of. Where we can then place the characters, and then they will fight each other, and then we can fade it out so that you can't see it. Do you use something like Miro to have information and checklists of what you need to do? No, I just have a notepad. Just have a notepad. And no, it's not GLSL, it's HLSL. Honestly, I'd never want to touch OpenGL at all. I don't even understand why it's still around or why people use it. It's like 10 years out of date and unsupported. There's a global renderer. Well, there we have the renderer. It's a compute shader that HLSL is just Microsoft's version of GLSL. You can translate between them somewhat easily. It's just slightly different. It's called high-level shader language instead of glide shader language or whatever it is. Actually, don't know what it stands for. So yeah, the way it's gonna work is that each world is just like self-contained and contains everything. So the main world will contain all of the tiles that it contains, all of the objects that it's supposed to contain, all the particles and effects it's supposed to contain. And then all I'm doing now is that I have to handle like buffers and stuff for the data for each world. And that's a lot of work because I need to like allocate data to the buffers, then create other buffers that will contain like pointers on blah blah blah, like all kinds of things. And then the way it works is that we have that one scene, or the world, right? Like world and I'm using world and scene interchangeably here. The main scene, which is the world, it will contain all of those objects and all of those tiles and everything. And then we just render that. We just say like, render world 1, and it just renders all of that. And then whenever combat happens, we just tell it to start rendering world number 2. And world number 2 will then be the combat scene, and it will contain its own set of tiles and objects and its own like world size and boundaries in order to properly handle light casting and shadows inside of that little scene. And so all I need to do is I just tell it to first render the first world, and then that's all just rendered to a plane, a 2D plane. That's just shown on the screen. And after that's been rendered, then we just render the combat scene like on top of that, and then that should just work. Is that a game state? Yeah. You have like an exploration mode where you can just walk around, but that happens inside of the main world. And then whenever we switch to combat mode, that also just happens in the main world. But I fade out all objects and characters that aren't like combat enabled or like set to be persistent, because like torches and stuff like that should still exist in combat mode, and it'll just take place on the same map. And it's just that I don't want to like animate attacks and stuff like that on the world, like in the main world, because the characters will just be standing next to each other. I can't start it now, so I can't really show, right? But like you have a character like this, and he'll be standing on a grid, which is gonna be, I think, a size of like, I think I might change it to something like this. And so she'll be standing here. And then whatever character is standing next to her will be standing like here. Right? So they're standing in these 4 tiles next to each other. So I don't want to animate combat within this tiny space. It's not gonna make any sense. It could be done if I like make it so that even melee attacks have like minimum range, which could work, kind of, but it would suck, I think. And I also don't want to animate attacks like up and down. And on top of that, it's like, if I were to animate the attacks like within this little space, we couldn't really have diagonal attacks either. That wouldn't even work. So when you select an attack and then you select a target, it will then like take the sprites, fade them, and then fade them in a little other like arena type thing. And then they'll fight there, you know, kind of like Fire Emblem. Except I don't want it to be as extreme as in Fire Emblem, because it like pulls you out of the world map and into this other screen, right? And I want it to be, I want the screen to remain. Like, I want you to be able to see the background while you have like an arena where they're fighting. Because I don't like when it completely removes the map, because it disorients you and you lose track of what was happening, where you were, those kind of things. So that's really what's going on there. Yeah, I do know Songs of Conquest. Though it's really just Heroes of Might and Magic. It's just Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Yes, I do know. Ugh. But yeah, I do think we're. Hold on, I was writing something else here. Tie selection buffer to the level editor. Right. I don't know. Right selection if level editor is enabled. Don't use a fucking texture again. Retard. That's what I'm gonna call myself. Oh shit! I forgot to ping everybody. It was made intentionally so. I didn't really vibe with it that much, so I just might not like Might and Magic. Yeah, I didn't like it either. I don't like Might and Magic. It's mainly the way units work and how you just like stack up units and stuff. I don't like that, and I also don't like that it kind of creates an optimization strategy where you have to like manually split out units. That's how they play. Like there are professional Here's the Might and Magic tournaments and pro players, and what they do is they split out units, so you have like stacks of one, so that you fill out the entire thing, because then that can like you can like abuse that to like bait out counter attacks or bait out big attacks from the AI and stuff like that, which is super, like, I don't know, it just kills my entire interest in the game, to be honest. I don't mind like the base gameplay otherwise. You know, just the exploring, killing monsters, picking up chests and stuff. I wouldn't mind that at all, if just the way units worked was different. It's also like I also can't get into. Is it a poorly balanced game? Like, does it have a straightforward meta? I don't know about that. But I just don't like how the core like unit system works, where it's like, yeah, we have one stack of 200 dragons, and I don't know. It's weird. Because it also just turns the game into a Doom Stacker game instead of like actually having any interesting, real like tactical gameplay, in my opinion. Any strategy game that turns into Doom stacking is kind of uninteresting to me, to be honest. Why I can't really get into Stellaris either. It just ends up having like one big blob that you walk around with at the end. But yeah, I think we'll stop there. Other than just yapping some more, I'm not gonna get anything more done here right now. But did get a bit of progress done actually. So it wasn't a terrible programming day considering the last few weeks. But we have a meeting in 15 minutes. People focus more on better systems now, I think. I don't think so. That's why they just make Heroes of Might and Magic 3 again. Like, the reality is almost every single game just makes a system that existed like 20 years ago. That's my like biggest issue with gaming in general. It's stuck in like 20 years ago and doesn't want to progress at all. Look at Blueprints. Well, that's a completely different game type. But yeah, Blueprints, I bought it and never played it because I already watched like 80% of the game on stream. But I did enjoy watching it be played. It was kind of neat. But yeah. Mina the Hollow MO also gave a very fresh take on a fusion of Zelda / Souls-like. Yeah, I mean, as long as it works. I don't like the Souls-like aspect though. Personally, I don't. I feel like every single game, instead of becoming more fun, they just turn them into Souls-like now. And I don't like Souls-likes. That's a problem for me. I don't like Dark Souls at all. Like, to me, Dark Souls is a bad game on purpose. And that's why it's fun. And that's why it was good. Because I always say that, but I think the core design philosophy of Dark Souls 1 is the same as, like, Adventure Island for the NES. Or, like, these kind of games, you know, like, I Want to Be the Guy. Or whatever. It's made in a way where you're supposed to die, and it's supposed to be shitty and annoying, and then you win, and then it's a communal experience. You know, that's why it has like these souls, like specters that you can see that show where people die, and people can leave messages for each other. It's supposed to be a dogshit shitty game that you're supposed to beat and get through and like laugh about with your friends, like, haha, did you get killed by that thing? And that's exactly what it did, and that's why it was so successful. Like, it did exactly what it set out to do. The only thing is that for whatever reason, people were like, oh, it has like the most amazing gameplay in the world, even though it's got dogshit gameplay. And now like every single game plays like Dark Souls, which in my opinion is a piece of shit. On purpose. And that's why I don't like the newer games like Elden Ring, because it's just the same thing, except now it's just like it's just about like infinite dodge roll chains, and I don't know, like I only think Dark Souls 1 is good. I don't think any of the other games are actually good. When it comes to like actual FromSoft design, I think Sekiro is the only game that's like actually good. Because it is Souls-like, but it actually has good gameplay too. Like it's actually a fun game. But I think Dark Souls is like, I don't know. I don't think they're really that good. Dark Souls 3 just doesn't have the same feeling on level design, because you always have fast travel. Yeah, I mean, I think Dark Souls 1 is like, it's super easy nowadays, but back in the day it wasn't. It was pretty hard, because we weren't used to it. And now it's just like, every game they have to tune it up, and it just becomes more and more like, you're just more and more mad every time you play them. But apparently a lot of people like that, so. But anyway, we have a meeting in a bit, so I'm gonna head off, get ready for that, and then tonight we'll do something, I think. I don't know what. Probably FF12. I don't know. I don't really have like a whole lot of games to play right now until we start Baldur's Gate on Friday. So maybe FF12, maybe Pal World. I don't know. I don't think I'll play Pal World. I doubt that. I don't really want to play Pal World. But yeah. Until next time. Wait, Baldur's Gate 1. Enhanced Edition with mods to make it not be Enhanced Edition anymore. But yeah. Until next time. Thanks, Ryan. Have a good day. Bye-bye.